Hey there, hi, it's Lisa Plasti here. I wanted to talk to you today about thinking about your child's treatment program and what you're currently doing now, the way that you're investing your time now to help your child in the future. And I think that that's really important to make sure that those goals align. And so with that in mind, it's important to understand what is necessary, what is needed for long-term quality of life in order for your child to be successful in the future. And I often say that, in the olden days, let's say, before the internet, when the encyclopedia salesman used to go door to door and everybody had to have a set of the Britannica, what was it called? Anyway, the encyclopedias, Britannica, that was, some kind of, gold standard that, oh, I've got the encyclopedias for my family, for my children. And back then, what was considered valuable or important was how much your child knew. In today's society, quite frankly, if you don't know something, you can just Google it. What's important in today's world, in this very dynamic world that we live in, is the ability to function in a dynamic, ever-changing, uncertain, complex, emotionally, at times challenging world. And so when we understand that, it makes sense that the way that you might invest the time and your efforts, your energy, your finances, those resources, the way that you're going to invest those should align with your child's ability to function effectively in the future, in the long term. And so things like understanding that communication can be messy. One of my favorite quotes is, "The greatest illusion in communication is that it's been achieved," by George Bernard Shaw. Or Dr. Stephen Gutstein simply says, "Communication is highly fragile." And so when we understand those kinds of things, then we know that we have to, for example, continually monitor our listener or our partner to ensure their states of comprehension, to ensure that what is said has been understood, or that it's received enthusiastically, that our partner isn't bored. But teaching these kinds of things, it's quite interesting because, quite frankly, I don't think you can teach it at a table. I think that it needs to come from a developmental standpoint, and communication develops long before speech does. It occurs through in typical development through the relationship between parent and child. And so the parent themselves, you as a parent, can learn about the developmental steps in communication and looking at your child's motivation to want to communicate and start to build on that in a manner that is going to promote the motivation for your child to want to engage and to do so effectively. Now, that's just one area when thinking about the difference between dynamic intelligence versus static intelligence. Static intelligence may be teaching a child a script or a response when looking to, maybe greet somebody or wanting to play with another child. I can recall long ago, my child in his kindergarten program, and he was there with a very well-intended therapist who decided that it would be a good idea if she prompted my child to ask other children to play. And only if he could find another child to play with could he actually have the toy that he wanted. And so it was quite unfortunate because in that, it's not very typical. Children don't necessarily go up to another child and say, "Will you play with me?" And unfortunately, it was really setting him up for failure because most kids would just respond with no. Maybe they were engaged in other things, there was no real consideration for the idea of how to connect or to initiate play other than this script, which, as you can see, is a good example of it not being very dynamic. And as quickly as we understood that that was going on, we stopped it very quickly as well. So beyond that, though, there's many other areas beyond communication. There's ability to become a flexible thinker, which can include the ability to solve problems. Solving problems is not just when A happens, then do B. This is when children with autism are set up for failure because, sometimes B isn't going to be the best option, and the situation, the setting, the circumstances can change, and B may no longer be relevant. And if we are trying to develop the true ability for our kids to be problem solvers, then we're really doing them a disservice to teach them in this manner. And so problem solving isn't about finding the right solution for the answer. Problem solving is about developing the mental habit and the tool to slow down and consider options. It also includes the experience of trying those out, as well as the ability to learn from prior experiences to try to find a best match, a best fit for that particular situation, as well as maybe drawing on the experiences and the expertise of others. But I think, again, we're setting kids up for failure if they feel like they need to come up with an answer right away. Slowing down to consider options is also an area that will really help to promote that self-regulation that I know that all parents, it's just one aspect of self-regulation, but would be one thing that I know you likely as a parent are really hoping or desiring for your child. Other areas that are important in terms of development of dynamic intelligence is the ability to collaboratively work with other people. And so being able to understand and appreciate the perspectives that others may bring to the table, and to be able to share your own in a flexible manner is also something that is going to be critically important for an individual to be able to have as part of their an attribute that they possess in order to be able to function in the dynamic world that we live in.